Hello and welcome to the SME Focus Show, powered by MTDCNC. I'm Mark Weymouth from the Sensor Specialist Plus Automation, and I'm here aiming to carry on the great work this show has done over 200 plus episodes, championing the UK manufacturing sector and particularly highlighting SMEs. My guest today is Halil Bedevi, who some of you may know from his 7 years at Santander Bank as UK Head of Advanced Manufacturing. Halil is a manufacturing industry specialist, a chartered engineer, and now an independent consultant with a business called Manufacturing IQ. Prior to this, as Halil will explain, he previously worked in mainstream frontline manufacturing across many manufacturing subsectors. Hi, Halil. Welcome to SME Focus.
Hi, Mark. Pleasure to be here, and thank you for this opportunity. Also, thank you to everyone about to watch or listen to this conversation, and I hope that we can make it interesting, but most importantly, useful, at least to some people anyway. Thank you.
I guess, as I said in the intro, many of the viewers will know you from Santander, but a significant amount of your time was in manufacturing, and you've started out in manufacturing. So let's kick off by asking you what took you into manufacturing, and tell us about your time in various manufacturing industries.
Thank you, Mark. Yes, it's been over 30 years. When you're having fun, time flies, as they say. But as a child, I actually wanted to be a scientist and an inventor, whatever those meant for a young child. I was fascinated and still am about science, engineering, and making things. So friends and I were quite innovative, coming up with ideas, trying to invent and make things. We took things apart, electrical items, bikes. I remember taking the ball bearings out of the bike and putting it all back together. We thought that was all good stuff, fun. We made things, broke things, repaired things, repurposed things. So that was kind of a hobby really for us. And we actually tried to make wireless speakers as kids. Now, that didn't exist at the time, right? I'm talking about late 70s, early 80s. It didn't work, of course. We didn't know anything about electronics and transmission, but we tried as an idea. Now all work, aren't they? They're all everywhere. So we missed the trick there. So all this then translated into wanting to be an engineer. But I didn't know about the so many different disciplines of engineering that there were. Nobody tells you these things. And this became a bit of a problem when I was about to apply for university down the line. Which course, which discipline do you choose? There's dozens of engineering. So maybe something we must improve, really. I don't know where youngsters go these days when they are about to choose what discipline of engineering they want to go into. I don't easily sort of find or see these things, guides on institutions or trade body websites, government websites. Maybe it's all on universities, I'm not sure, but guidance is really important, I think, if you want to draw more people into the right disciplines. So after then, I thought engineers help with designing and making things, and I'm not really a kind of pure theorist, pure academic person, quite practical. So and manufacturing is applicable to all kind of disciplines or all areas. So I thought, what about manufacturing? And that was it. So I went off to study mechanical and production engineering, as it was called. And I did that, enjoyed studying and wanted to learn more. So then decided to study for a master's degree in advanced manufacturing technology at Cranfield, but needed some work experience before that. So I ended up securing a corporate trainee position role at a global FTSE 100 company. And that was a real eye-opener for me. It gave me mentorship and also global view and how to see and think big, really. I was lucky they sponsored me to do my MSc, so I didn't have to pay for it. Which I couldn't afford at the time. It was expensive, 2-year MSc at Cranfield. And I had a job at the end of that, in theory, but unfortunately there were problems at the company. So I ended up finishing my MSc, but with nothing at the end. And it was recession time. So it was a difficult period. But I managed to find a good job at a local manufacturing company as their manufacturing engineer, and started working there. Wow, I thought that's great. But there were challenges, of course. First job, the only manufacturing engineer in the company. It was quite a large company. And that taught me to learn how to work with people, to ask, show some humility, learn from people who are experienced but not as qualified maybe. And I had no work experience, so it was good sort of learning there. I completed my work experience there and everything. And one day my manager came to me and said, look, you're a good engineer, or that's all good stuff, but for the future, how about some management training? If you want to, manage operations, I recommend that you do something like an MBA, or there is this fellowship in manufacturing management at Cranfield. How about that? I thought, okay, sounds good. So I went and did that. It was a 1 year and 3 month program. I would say that was probably a life-changing experience. It was really good. As a result, I became suddenly attractive to consulting firms and worked as a consultant doing turnarounds, practical stuff. That was amazing, really. It was, really enjoyed that, learned a lot from there. Then over the years, worked in various manufacturing companies, from startups, SMEs, larger ones, and made some very interesting stuff, from electronics, electrical, mechanical products, automotive, defense, parts for aircraft engines, all the way to spacecraft, and kettles and toasters, ovens, you name it. So lots of different stuff. I helped to design, build factories, relocate factories, manage small and large teams and departments, and whole sites. Thoroughly enjoyed every minute. And yes, face challenges, of course. I remember being given my own profit and loss site, factory. That was terrifying when they said, this is all yours now. Go and make money. Go and make stuff and go and make money. Oh my God, this is all on me now. When you make things that cost also, 450 million pounds, that was some of the spacecraft and satellites we made, 450 million. And as you can imagine, once it's fired off, you can't repair it, you can't get it back, you can't, it's terrifying.
Yeah.
And making design and process changes in manufacturing roles, that could be terrifying as well. You're changing something, and production lines are knocking them out. They're going to go out. Somebody's going to use them. But it's also enjoyable, and when everything goes kind of to plan, and it's okay if they don't. Sometimes things don't, and as long as they're not that many or too many or that big, and you learn from them, that's fine. So you learn to avoid disasters, avoid risks, or take risks, minimize costs and time wasted in things like that, and learn how to deal with different situations, whether it's people, systems, machines, and how to take career risks, really, and stay fresh, up to date. Therefore, I think relevant and attractive to the market is really important. And looking after number one really stuck with me. I don't hear it said very much these days, but we were always told, look after the number one. One thing I wish I learned earlier in my career was networking. The value of networking, that came much later. So that's me, really. I promise the rest of the answers, I'll keep them shorter. I just thought I'll give a kind of a background, and
it's interesting, and I think in the introduction and very much in your bit, you're really keen to stress there is far more to you than just a banker. You are part of this manufacturing community that this podcast is addressing. You mentioned one of the points, how do youngsters decide what type of engineering they're going to do. And I certainly agree with you. From my experience of my son, there was no real guidance other than what his parents could give him on what area to go into. Well, that's easy if your parents know, but if your parents don't know, then I do feel the kids have a challenge. And sort of leading on to that and this problem that we all talk about and we all complain about, so I'd like to hear your thoughts. How do we attract more people, more youngsters, but more people of all ages into manufacturing? What thoughts do you have of how do we get better people to come into manufacturing?
Yeah, you're right. Look, you know, over many years, in every gathering, conference I go to, skills shortage always comes up. And yes, we need to talk about it to kind of put some actions in place. But it's also frustrating because it doesn't feel like we've moved along that much, really. You know, people complain, somebody somewhere needs to do something, who's that, where, so I think everybody can do more. What I would like to say on that, Mark, is manufacturing is an ecosystem, and not everyone needs to be engineers or manufacturers, really. Just need to be useful. Manufacturing sector, I would say, is for everyone as a sector. So we need to tell people this, kids, you mentioned parents, teachers, careers advisors, recruiters. I don't think this is fully appreciated and communicated. And the public and the other professionals, you can do almost anything, but do them in manufacturing sector. So you can be an IT specialist or HR person, lawyer, marketing, management, or in sales, like yourself. So they can all exist in manufacturing. Sometimes people don't realize that. When I talk to a lot of youngsters, I visit schools and things, and when you talk to people and say, what do you want to do? And somebody said, and I ask people, how about, have you considered working in manufacturing? Sometimes people say, no, I want to be in IT, right? So you think, but you can be in IT, but you can practice that in manufacturing. They don't naturally make that link unless somebody tells them, right? So I think we must do more of that, because although these people may help with skills shortage if they come into manufacturing, obviously they're not going to help with engineering and kind of hardcore manufacturing, but they can really help manufacturing companies do much better, support the manufacturers and engineers. So overall, they can help to advance UK manufacturing through their company. So good manufacturing companies, really need non-engineers and non-technical people, all sorts of disciplines to thrive. So I think that is a point to be made and kind of disseminated, really. And in tackling the skills shortages, also, let's not forget about the importance of industrial automation. UK is, latest results show that UK is now in 23rd position in the global robot density league, okay, 23rd. It's not really great given the heritage we have, the importance of manufacturing, and the skills shortage. It makes a lot of sense to automate things, where possible, of course. I'm not saying go and automate everything, but there are a lot of cases where automation would make sense, and we must do more of it. And we need more automation and robotics engineers as well, and technicians to make this possible, and perhaps more solutions providers able to assist SMEs in simple, get them started in the automation journey. And one last point is candidate to vacancy matching. It is, I would say, is not great. It's very inefficient and ineffective, and it can be frustrating. It needs improving. We are there's a lot of reliance on computing, just kind of algorithms to match people. not many people read and understand CVs and industries anymore, and that makes it difficult. An example is that when I was at advanced engineering, and I went to a panel, and a young lady came to me and said, "Look, some of my friends, well qualified, intelligent people in engineering, manufacturing. How is it that they can't get jobs if there are all these skill shortages that we keep hearing?" And I think one of the things is probably the system, the matching. Companies knowing where these people are and being in touch with them, and so on. So it's fine adding more skills into the system, but I think if we're not using what we already have efficiently, we have another problem, haven't we? So I think something to think about and try and address.
Okay, the skills matching comment is very interesting. It's not one I thought of, but yes, even if you sit like we do with somebody who's passionate and knows about the industry, it's still very hard to understand what does an engineer do. Well, an engineer does a phenomenal variety of things in different sectors, which is what we love about it. But if you're just a dumb computer trying to match a word, it's no wonder that there isn't a fit. So yeah, an interesting and quite worrying point.
Yeah, I'm afraid so.
So we trialed a bit already in the description that I guess many people watching this will know you from Santander. So can I ask a little bit about your 7 years in terms of what was the purpose of your role? Why was there an engineering manufacturing fan working within a bank? So how did you end up at the Santander? What was the purpose of your role? And let's complete the questions by asking, what do you think you achieved?
Yeah, thank you. I mean, as you can imagine, it's a question I get asked often, and I was when I was at Santander, an engineer and manufacturer working at a bank, who would have thought? Firstly, it wasn't planned, not intentional. I was just being local about why and how organizations around the periphery of manufacturing looking to help and work with manufacturers should know more about manufacturing. So referring to the likes of banks, insurers, government, recruiters, funnily enough, even trade bodies and professional institutions and other NGOs. The idea was taken seriously by Santander, and that was that. Obviously the role was advertised and people applied and all that. I, managed to secure it with the agreement that I would not be turned into a banker and stay as a manufacturer and work with manufacturers and the banking colleagues in the ecosystem. That was the agreement. So that's how I started working at Santander as a UK head of manufacturing. Initially, I had a limited number of subsectors. Then I became sort of head of manufacturing, covering all subsectors. The purpose of the role, really, there were three aspects, I would say. So one was helping the bank inform strategy and proposition, help the bank understand about manufacturing, supply chains, different tiers, how it all worked, and help them in their dealings with the manufacturing really sector. So provide insights, trends and challenges and opportunities, information, solutions, that kind of thing, and use it as a differentiator to kind of grow the manufacturing related business. So that's one sort of high level. Second bit was to help the frontline banking relationship colleagues. So this is relationship managers, relationship directors, and business development colleagues in their interactions with the manufacturing companies, prospects, and clients, helping them with analysis, insights, preparation, and add value to conversations, really, with visits, pitching, that kind of thing. Thirdly, and this is quite important, helping the clients grow. So use the ecosystem of solution providers to actually make a difference to our clients, connect them within the UK and externally in other countries, finding suppliers, finding customers, market expansion. We organize lots of events and activities. We organize trade missions to different countries, taking groups of UK manufacturers and introduce them to companies and contacts there. So it was all about supporting the clients in whatever way possible, really, to kind of help them grow and develop. And we did that, of course, because on the back of that, you could also do more banking as well. So that's kind of a not hidden thing, because people said, well, why are you doing this? Why is a bank doing this? Well, helping clients. I mean, why wouldn't a bank or anybody help their clients, grow? And that was a good way for me to feel that I was helping the UK manufacturing grow and prosper as well. So I found that quite satisfying. And I hope that I helped Santander to see manufacturing differently, or to see it at all, full stop, maybe, putting manufacturing on the map, and help to grow manufacturing related businesses. So this helped Santander to grow its manufacturing portfolio. And I mean, we achieved double-digit growth year on year, which I'm very proud to say, every year. So also I'm proud to be a key member of the deal team for 3 major client wins of the year, and contributed to other kind of international award success, Business Finance Awards. In 2023 and 4, we won the Best International Solutions Provider Award. And it was nice to receive numerous, positive comments, kudos or commendations for contributions to colleague and client successes. While I was at Santander, I also did other things outside my department and outside the bank to kind of support various internal departments, as well as external organizations and national initiatives, and try to contribute to several UK consultations and guides and commissions, task forces, things like Bank of England, industry, UK government, trade bodies as well, UK finance. So I did quite a lot of stuff, as much as I could. I think the most important thing is, helping thousands of manufacturing companies really to do better, and help to start SME international trade platform to help businesses with international trading, and we'll come to that bit later, why it's important, and also supported a new platform, which is an open e-learning platform for skills and employability. People can go and look that up, Santander Open Academy, and it's completely free to anybody. They don't need to bank with Santander or anything. So there's a number of things I'm proud of achieving there, and of course continue to develop myself. Every day is a learning day. So yeah.
Okay, so the Open Academy resource sounds interesting. So something to take away and go and look at for us. I think last time we spoke, I was in the process of changing bank, or just about to change bank, and we had an interesting conversation about really how SMEs should think of banking. And I've liked the term you used, which I'm going to ask you to explain. You said, well, think of a bank as being a professional service, and maybe a bit like an accountant. And I liked that, because even as SMEs, we understand what our accountant does for us, and we understand what accountants should do. So maybe can I ask you to use that analogy and explain a bit more about how you think SMEs should think of banking? How should they go about it?
Yeah, okay, that's an interesting one, because I think there isn't enough understanding, maybe from both sides, to kind of work better together. As we know, I think, we hear often in the press and from companies, sometimes banks get a bad name, really, and there are probably 3 or 4 reasons for that. I'm not here to either defend the banks or criticize them. They get a lot right. They do a lot right, and there are things obviously they can improve and do more of or better of. But we must see things from both sides objectively, really, to try and improve the situation. Companies obviously depend on banks. Every company needs a bank. They depend on them, and sometimes when they say no, it is naturally not liked. If they're turned down a loan, or it's not as much as they were expecting, and things like that, that can cause a bit of frustration. I'll explain that. But they also, sometimes banks don't always understand the businesses enough, or sectors as much. And sometimes they can be seem to be a bit too risk averse, to not to take too much risk, and so on. So reduce the amount of exposure, if you like, and the risk. But also some businesses don't really understand banks and how to do kind of best work with them and get the best out of them. So the other thing is, banks appear to make big profits. Okay, this is in amount, I have to say. It's on the news and things. This bank made this many million, billion. Wow, But let me put it in another way. If a company turned over £100,000 and made 10,000 profits, would you say that was excessive? 10%, let's say? No. When a bank makes 10,000, because they do a lot of big business and it equates to millions and billions, suddenly people sometimes think, why do they make that much money and not give me more, and all this kind of thing? So the percentages are not always great. Sometimes in history, banks have lost money even. Things don't happen right, recessions happen, whatever. They can lose money. So I would urge people not to just look at the headline millions, billions of profit or whatever, but percentages are not always great, right? So big companies, whether they're banks or supermarkets or big manufacturing companies, well, they need to make money like everyone else. They're businesses. So I don't think there's anything wrong with that. So that's one thing to remember. Also, as I mentioned, banks are commercial businesses. They're companies. They don't print their own money. Sometimes they have to borrow to be able to lend. And when they borrow, they have to pay interest, right? And you need to get these things right. Now, they need to make money. They must make money and be strong and healthy. And this in turn helps businesses and the nation in return, because they can help more companies, maybe take a little bit more risk and things like that. So it is a good thing and not a bad thing for banks to make profit and stay profitable. So as you said, an example is you can use your accountancy company as what's sometimes referred to as bean counters, right? I don't mean to offend anybody by saying that. Where there's very limited value add, they can maintain your books, do your accounts and everything, but that doesn't really add much value to the business, as you can imagine. But you can also use them as financial consultants and advisors to really help you to propel your business. And there's a big difference. If they know and understand your business, your industry, and business in general, and you can work them in a good way, they can be very, very useful. And this is the case is similar for banks. When companies, SMEs, are working with banks, you can just deposit your money and get it out, use it, have a couple of accounts or whatever, and have a loan. That's kind of the very basics of having a bank. But if you can find out how your bank can help and support you in other ways, whether it's banking and finance or business, you can do a lot more potentially. So find out what they can offer, demand more to develop your business. Find out about their offerings about business help, education with trade, networking, all sorts of things like that. And one very important thing I want to mention is that bigger companies know this, but I think some of the SMEs don't. That you don't have to have one bank for life. Shop around. There is competition, and there are others around. So don't be afraid of changing your bank, but also you don't just have to change your bank if you're not happy, or if the bank you work with doesn't offer something that you see that you would like. So you can actually have more than one bank. Okay, it's a little known thing. This bigger companies have multi-banking relationships. You might have a main bank or one bank in the UK. If you suddenly find yourself trading or expanding into country X, and your current bank isn't able to support you with that, you can use another bank, between UK and another country, or certain things that are more competitive with one bank. You can use a bank for your foreign exchange, for example, and things like that. But you need to have a banking relationship. You can't just ring up and get a loan from another bank or buy something. You need to maintain. Now, I'm not suggesting that SMEs go out and have half a dozen bank. I mean, that's too many, right? But you can certainly look at having more than one, whatever makes sense, and just explore the options every now and then. I think that is probably useful to know.
Yeah, I think it's interesting. Sometimes there's inertia with banks that people are afraid to change them, maybe don't think of changing it. But if you're a business and you grew, and maybe you grew beyond what your accountant could offer, you'd happily change accountants. So I love that analogy of think of banks as accountants. And as you say, we've recently switched to have a second bank. And it's interesting, we use Sage Accounting, and Sage Accounting seems perfectly capable of working with two banks. It's no more complicated than working for one. So yeah, the software guys are expecting it to happen. It seems incredibly easy actually to do, but it took a while to get around to doing it. So I thought it was interesting. You said, "Hey, don't be a fool with inertia. Just go and do it, and do what's best for your business." So that was interesting conversation. You certainly reinforced my thoughts and made me do it. So thanks for that. You mentioned, or you touched on earlier, international trade, and I know you've got a real passion for international trade. But thinking of the audience of this show being really manufacturing and particularly SMEs, can I ask you some thoughts, some takeaways on international trade for SMEs?
Yeah, I mean, it's a very important area, really. Now, we all know that manufacturing and doing business are getting more and more difficult by the day, and more complex. There's stiff competition, changes in technology, the green agenda, ESG, geopolitics, protectionism, regulation, conflicts, threats, economic challenges. It's all there. Examples: Brexit, COVID, wars, both military and trade wars. There's a lot going on. And I just want to suggest that being globally competitive, having some USPs and differentiators, and ability to trade internationally are vital, really, these days. If you do what many others do and just add capacity, it's usually not great. So I would really urge companies to think about how to, and you can start small, how to trade internationally, how to be and even if you don't trade internationally, you have to be internationally competitive, because people have the choice to buy things from elsewhere. And if what you make is kind of easily shippable, people are going to shop around. So I think that is a really fundamental thing to be globally, internationally competitive in whatever you do, whether it's a product or a service. It's all the same. You need to be, internationally trading or competitive.
Okay.
Yeah.
As you outlined, there's an awful lot of change and pressure and stresses in
That,
the economy at the minute, probably more so than we've seen for a very long time. Obviously, nobody can predict what the impact of the American change is going to have over the next couple of years, and tariffs and import challenges.
absolutely.
Can I ask you for your brief sort of thoughts on what the issues you think that a business is going to have to consider over the next year or two? Yeah, recommendations, thoughts. What do you think the issues are?
Yeah, I mean, look, as I mentioned above, in terms of advice to SMEs, be globally competitive and trade internationally if possible, and use your banks correctly, wisely. But I think don't forget the basics: the efficiency, productivity, competitiveness, and profitability. Those four things, they're fundamentals. That's what businesses need to focus on. The solution is not always to get a bigger computer. Right? Computers are very useful, of course, but AI software and other app, it isn't always the kind of the solution. What about manufacturing engineers, for example? You need to have the right people to make those things work. Also, I would say don't stand still. It's a conveyor thing. If you stand on a moving conveyor, you go backwards. So make and find time really to grow, and where it makes sense, of course, grow the company. We need more micro businesses becoming S's, small companies, more small companies becoming medium, and we need more medium companies becoming larger companies. I think we have an issue. We're not growing enough companies to be bigger companies. That is an important thing. And I understand. I've run small, medium-sized businesses. You're trying to get product out of the door, keep things profitable. There are issues every day with people and machines and whatever, suppliers. But I think I know it's difficult, try and forget that we don't have the time excuse for essentials. It's essential to develop the business and improve it. So networking, looking for help and funding and ideas and advice is really, really important. And get involved and have your say, ask for help, demand more from government, local region, trade bodies, whoever can help. And good and right people and leadership are everything. That's one fundamental thing. Everything starts with that, really. It's the single biggest thing that companies can get right, have the right people, skills, right leadership. And that's key to everything, I would say. And talk to people. Get someone to sit on your board meeting and challenge, ask questions, and make sure it's value for money, of course. So, yeah, in terms of, did you say also cover sort of what's important, what the companies need to do, or what are the issues you said, Mark?
Yes, I think so. We've got a lot of change ahead of us. I mean, my thoughts to sort of give you a bit of time to think of it, formulate an answer. I think my biggest recommendation would be for businesses really to work to close this productivity gap we've got in the UK. I mean, I'm a very passionate believer in lean manufacturing, lean offices, and the one thing I would say is throughout COVID, the other ridiculously large challenges we've had, a lean business will survive it better. A lean business gives you more ability to generate cash to invest. So lean and productivity are my comments. What are your thoughts of?
Yeah, I mean, look, I completely agree. I mentioned efficiency and productivity. That's kind of aligns with lean. It's fundamental. But there are a few other things really happening and need improving, as I sort of touched on earlier. Sorting out the skills and education. I think we can do more, to be honest.
Yeah.
But it needs dealing with, finding improvements and solutions. Can't just talk about the problem and expect somebody somewhere to do something, right? Um, we can't keep meddling with the training and education system. If something doesn't work, you don't wipe it clean and start again. That is probably not great. We need to get something kind of 80% right, and then you keep improving and tweaking it, not wipe it clean and start multiple times, renaming it, whether it's qualification systems, educations. We keep changing it. No other country changes their education and training systems that often in that drastic way. I don't know if this is the politicians to blame for this or what, I don't know, but I think we need to get a grip on that. Recruitment system I mentioned, it needs improving. We can't keep using this machine gun, bigger, faster computer approach to just kind of go out there and word match and whatever. It's terribly inefficient. It's frustrating also for candidates as well as recruiting companies. So skills and education that needs improving. Second one I would say is to get the industrial strategy right. Now, at long last, we have a lot of talk about and determination by the current government to implement this industrial strategy. But it needs to be implemented effectively, and it needs to be the right strategy, as you can imagine. A wrong strategy and doing the wrong thing is not going to help. The result won't be right. So it's really important. And with that strategy, I'm hoping that there will be some things in there to help micro businesses become small businesses become medium, and medium businesses to grow. We need to kind of keep it's a pipeline. We need to keep it flowing, if you like. And along with that, some help to get businesses trading internationally in a practical way. At the moment, the help, I would say, is quite fragmented and not enough, and maybe not good enough. So if a company wants to get help with international trade, I would say it's not that easy to sort of know who to go to and get some real practical great help from somebody who knows what they're talking about. Third one, grants, funding system. People complain that it's very complex to find where the grants are, how to apply for them. Very frustrating. It needs to be simplified, really, and made more efficient and more effective, I would say. What else is there? So, yeah, I mean, it's crucial to sustain engineering, technology, and innovation. It's a tough game to commercialize innovation in isolation. UK is very good at innovation and coming up with things, products, but sometimes it worries me that you can't sell technology. We need to grow the manufacturing businesses as well to be able to use that technology and maybe use it in-house to grow a company to then make more of the same thing. So if innovation is not near manufacturing, it's usually not ideal, not sustainable. It needs to be close so that you can see where the innovation goes in, and then it's a bit of a circular thing. Sometimes it comes back for refinement and improvement. So that is an important thing to get right. Because once you sell an IP, it's gone. Out of the country, it's gone. So it's good. Better would make sense to keep more, make them profitable, efficient, globally competitive, and so on. And look, in all of this, we don't need to reinvent the wheel. You know, use the best available ideas, models, solutions, and above what I said, sort of, this needs to happen, that is wrong, fine. It's important to know that's the what, if you like, but how is important, because people might say, well, okay, it's very well saying this needs to be improved, that needs to be done, but how? But there are solutions. I mean, I have my own ideas and offering to help if required. I'm sure there are lots of ideas and people out there as well. The coordination needs to be right to make it all happen. And it's not all about just money. Also, it's about strategy. It's also about implementation. So, it can be done. I think the fundamental thing is it can be done. And it needs, as I said, collaboration, coordination, funding, all the rest of it to kind of make it happen. And we have a great manufacturing sector in the UK, and we need to shout out about it more, really, as we try and do.
Okay. A slightly different or topical spin on the usual last question. We're in December. Christmas is just around the corner. What do you want for Christmas? And then the more normal question, what does 2025 have in store for you?
Wow. Okay. That's a big question, Mark. I mean, for me, the festive period, this time will be time to rest and recharge. Obviously, spend time with family and friends, but also plan for next year, 2025. Really, I think it will be a busy year. I would like to collaborate more with UK manufacturing related things, companies, trade bodies, government organizations and initiatives, continue with all that, continue supporting Made Smarter Commission, support STEM. My next school visit is in January, so I've got to think about that. Continue my involvement with Cranfield University. I'm a visiting fellow and industrial advisory board member at Cranfield, so I would like to continue with all that. I would like to find time to read more and write more, maybe. I've got some campaign ideas, manufacturing related, so I'm looking at those. And as you mentioned at the beginning, now I'm out of Santander, looking at picking up a couple of NED roles maybe, and developing what I do with manufacturing IQ, consulting, helping companies to grow and improve really in any way I can. So that's kind of in 2025. I think there's quite a lot. I hope I can get some of those done.
And how do people get in touch with you, I guess, for any of that shopping list you just mentioned? So for manufacturing IQ and all the other things.
I am on LinkedIn, contactable on LinkedIn. Also, my email address, if it's okay to give out from here, is hbedevi@icloud.com. So hbedevi@icloud.com. Please get in touch. I would love to have a conversation, have a discussion, put our heads together and see how we can move the dial for UK MFG. Really, that's the idea. It's my passion to continue in that area. So
brilliant. Well, I couldn't wish for a better wrap-up sentence than move the dial for UK manufacturing. So thank you very much, sir. I'll do the brief and usual wrap-up for the show. So if you'd like to get in touch with the show with a comment, a suggestion, or particularly if you'd like to appear in a future episode, please email us at inquiries@mtdcnc.com or contact myself, Stuart Whitehead, or Joe Reynolds. Thank you for watching. Enjoy the rest of your weekend. From me, Mark Weymouth, Plus Automation. Cheers. Have fun.